Joining us now on the line is KT McFarland, national security expert for Fox News. KT, great day to have you because there's a story out there. And let me just read some of the reports. This one from NBC News. A truck carrying extremely dangerous radioactive material has been stolen in Mexico. Apparently, it was transporting radioactive isotope cobalt-60 from a hospital where it is sometimes used for radiotherapy. They are looking for it. And the concern, of course, is that this might be used to create, a dirty bomb.
Yeah.
A very serious thing.
You know, I live in New York City, and the deputy police commissioner in New York, I asked if the guy who was in charge of the counterterrorism efforts in New York City, and I asked him, what really scares you the most? And he said, well, we've got a lot of things covered. We see big money moving. We can see big groups. We can kind of detect those. What we really worry about, he said, is the hospitals. And he said that there's radioisotopes that are used in chemotherapy. And he said, you wouldn't need much to have a doctor or someone in the hospital staff steal the radioactive material, the cobalt, and then use it in a dirty bomb. And he said that's the stuff that it's really hard to figure out. It's hard to detect. You can't see the one guy coming. So I think what this is upsetting is for several reasons. One, who did the kid hijacking? Is this Mexican gangs? Is this somebody else? Secondly, is it going to be something that the gangs will say, okay, we're holding this, we're going to blackmail you into giving this back, or we're going to sell it like a hostage. We're going to, we want money for it. Or is it something that finds its way into a lone wolf dirty bomb thing? I mean, I must say, when the Times Square underwear bomber, the Times Square bomber was a truck bomb. I went and did a blast zone of the Times Square and figured out where would it hit, what buildings at several block area. And then I did if it had been a dirty bomb and it had gone off, what would have happened? There would have been a number of blocks in Midtown Manhattan that you couldn't have gone to for years. Decades. So the dirty bomb thing, to me, is a really significant threat. I'm sort of surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Well, the fact that this truck was hijacked in Mexico, it means we're relying on the crack law enforcement in Mexico to get to the bottom of this. And there have been reports all year that Hezbollah has operations in Mexico. They're working with the cartels, which, of course, brings us back to Iran. Senator Feinstein this weekend said that we are less safe than we were 2 years ago with regard to international terrorism. And we know for a fact that the single largest state sponsor of terrorism is Iran. I've got to go back to this question.
Why
are we dealing with these people?
Don't ask me to explain the Obama administration and what they're doing. Look,
but this was Dianne Feinstein. This is a Democrat saying this.
Look, terrorism, we are not safer than we used to be a couple of years ago, and it's for three reasons. One, Al-Qaeda is in more places and in greater numbers than ever before. So much for Obama's pre-election campaign pledge that, Al-Qaeda's on the ropes. Al-Qaeda is grown, and it's in more countries and in more places, and they still hate America. Two, the Al-Qaeda terrorists, they're now battle-hardened. They're veterans. They've been at war in Syria. They were at war in Iraq. They were at war in Afghanistan. They were at war in Yemen. They've been at war at Libya. They know how to fight. So they're now not only more of them, but they're better trained. And then finally, the thing that you worry most about, as I said, is the lone wolf. It's the guy who has been trained because he's been fighting in Syria, and he goes back to the Netherlands. It's the guy who's been trained fighting in Libya, and he decides to come back to America. That's the one you don't see coming. And so I think that we indeed are less safe than before. And also because Al-Qaeda seems to be very comfortable with small-scale attacks. It used to be they wanted big things, World Trade Center, the Mexican trains.
Yeah, that's not true anymore.
No, they're happy to just put a truck in Times Square.
Okay, look, there's another story that's brewing this morning, and it has to do with our beloved Vice President Joe Biden. He has been sent over to China because tensions are a little high right now between the United States and China over that no-fly zone or that air defense zone that they put up over the Japanese islands. So he's going there to diffuse the situation, right? Well, this is what he said. He got there and he said, "Look, I think that if you're here it is. I want to get where's the exact thing." He says
speaking to students, right? Young people
students, and he says you should challenge the authority. Children in America, he says, are rewarded, not punished, for challenging the status quo. The only way you make something totally new is to break the mold of what was old.
Yeah,
I can't imagine this is going to go well.
Yeah, Joe Biden going to China, encouraging revolution. Great, good move.
Well, and
They'll be so confused on what our position is.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I don't think anybody disagrees that it would be great for there to be some, but he's there supposed to diffuse the issue.
Right.
And you've dealt with. I mean, you have a history with China. You were just there, KT, with their pride-saving face, the indignity of that sort of thing. How does the Chinese government react to that?
Well, and also remember what it is it also recalls Tiananmen Square.
Right.
Of course.
And where young people did stand up to the tanks. And so a country now which has a leadership that realizes it's got to reform, it's got economic problems, it's stoked a sense of nationalism, if not xenophobia, for Biden to go and call for a youth revolution.
I get all that. I mean, the thing is that he's gone over there in a very tense time between the United States. And while I completely agree with what he has said, this was not the time to say it.
Wrong place, wrong time, wrong people. Yeah, no.
Wrong
and
vice
the thing
president.
to worry about is that there's we have a treaty with Japan, right? And so do we enforce that treaty if something happens in that part of the world? And I don't think it happens intentionally. I don't think China and Japan want to go to war with each other. But what happens if there's a situation that everybody miscalculates over these islands, the Senkaku Islands, that are south of Japan and east of China, and an area where China has now claimed any aircraft going anywhere near that has to inform the Chinese government that it's going to fly there. The Japanese have told their commercial airliners and their military airliners, don't inform them, because the next thing is they'll want permission, and then the next thing is they'll say, oh, this is like Lake Michigan. Nobody's allowed to fly over this.
If I were Obama, I would tell Joe Biden, go back home to the Naval Observatory, and then I would tell the Navy to lock the gates.
But very quickly, Katie McFarland, we only have 30 seconds, but with regard to this no-fly zone, what message are we sending to Taiwan?
Well, Taiwan, I think we sent a message too long ago that you have to sort out your own affairs with China. Although we do indeed have a defense treaty with Taiwan.
Right,
so,
and so if China gets away with this and just redrawing the lines, what's stopping them from just the next time enveloping Taiwan?
Nothing, except for the fact that the Taiwanese and the Chinese want this. I mean, the Taiwanese leadership has been inspired, and they really have done a very good job of slowly but surely improving the relationships with the mainland Chinese.
All right, KT McFarland, a great day to have you here. Thanks a lot.
Thank